Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, today I have a couple of bizarre stories. One in which this pale crawler-like humanoid was watching these people, and another, this flying gargoyle-like cryptid frightened the living daylights out of the witness. Let's read the first article. Piedmont Pale Watcher, Childhood Crawler Encounter in North Carolina's Woods, and hear the full account of what these people, experienced. Two young friends swinging in a hammock one summer night never expected to lock eyes with a pale human-like face staring silently from the trees. But years later, as other North Carolinians report eerily similar sightings, the question remains, what is haunting the forests of the Piedmont after dark? Let's get into their full account now. I was born and raised in North Carolina, and I'm glad I found a whole video on this topic. I completely believe this man's account. When I was 12, around 2015-2016, my best friend and I were hanging out in her hammock during summer break in the Piedmont area. Her house was surrounded by acres of woods. She was facing one direction while I was facing another. It was around midnight, and we were talking when she suddenly stopped. Her face went pale, and she was frozen in fear for about 10 seconds. It took me a moment to muster the courage to turn around and look behind me. I saw a pale white human-like face with deep sunken eyes peering at us from between a forked tree. It seemed like it was just watching and listening to our conversation. There was no noise, nothing. Very interesting, folks. I can imagine how horrifying it would be to basically encounter a pale crawler. But this time, folks, it's very interesting because, at least in this account, we're basically getting a description of this pale crawler. That it looked like a human, at the very least, like it had a human face, but pale as a corpse. So at the very least, folks, in most accounts with pale crawlers, they're mentioned as basically having no faces, or at the very least, having a mouth and maybe literally black sunken or basically literally eyeless faces. Literally just two holes where the eye should be. So that's indeed very interesting. But let's continue now, folks. I instantly froze in fear, locking eyes with the entity for what felt like an eternity. Then she jumped off the hammock and ran inside in a panic. I got thrown off the hammock and belly flopped into the dirt before running after her. I'll never forget the moment we closed the door, scrambling to lock it while looking at each other in disbelief. Like, what was that? We stayed up all night trying to make sense of what we had just seen. I used to have nightmares about that creature. I'm honestly tearing up as I write this, remembering its eyes. The memory had been at the back of my mind, but after hearing the 911 call and watching this interview, I felt compelled to share it. I never knew anyone else who had seen something similar, but it seems that fellow North Carolinians have had similar experiences. Indeed, folks, it's not just North Carolina that are having these encounters. They're being seen all over North America and perhaps even beyond it. B is not alone, certainly. Other people have encountered these bizarre pale crawlers, and she's just one of many. But this time, folks, this entity, like with others, it seems to basically just wanted to frighten these two people, and that's it. Because if it wanted to, it could have easily come out from behind that tree, crossed over to them, and killed them both. But in like other accounts, folks, it seems like these entities just want to basically experience the fear that their witnesses have for them. So, very interesting so far, folks. But we'll talk a little more about this after I read the next article, so let's get into it now. Gargoyle-like winged humanoid terrifies drivers near Zephyr Hills, Florida, and read exactly what was witnessed. This is yet another winged cryptid encounter, folks. But we have to ask, folks, even though it says it was gargoyle-like, is there any chance that this was a pterodactyl encounter like others we've read about before, or a similar winged cryptid? But we'll find out as we read this article now. So let's read the opener and then get into the actual story. When a delivery driver in Zephyr Hills, Florida, reported a dark-winged humanoid swooping toward his truck at fighter jet speed. Few believed such a thing could exist, but as multiple witnesses now describe the same gargoyle-like being haunting Route 98 and US 301, always near dead deer and under the full moon, the chilling question emerges. What is stalking Florida's roads after dark, and how far does its reach extend? On September 22nd, 2017, I received a report about an encounter with a winged gargoyle-like being along a Florida road. There has been an increase in sightings and encounters of similar creatures akin to those reported in the Chicago area, surfacing nationwide. I was contacted by AP, who shared that a driver whom he had been filling in for over 2 weeks, encountered a winged being between his third and fourth stops near Zephyr Hills, specifically on Route 98 US 301 around 3:30 p.m. The driver described seeing a thing floating motionless about 15 feet off the ground next to a tree. He recounted as he got closer, he realized it looked like a dark-colored humanoid in a cannonball position just floating in the air like frozen. By the time he asked himself, "What the heck is that?" the creature unraveled itself, spreading its legs and giant bat-like wings. He wasn't sure of the exact color, but mentioned it was definitely dark and had human-like legs. At that moment, as it spread its wings and legs, it flew toward his truck at an unreal speed like a fighter jet. He nearly crashed the truck into a ditch because he was paralyzed with fear. The encounter happened so quickly that he didn't get a good look at its face, but he estimated it was between 5 and 6 feet tall, dark-colored, with human legs and bat wings. He also reported seeing several dead deer on the side of the road, 2 piles of at least 4 deer each, about half a mile before the sighting. He suspects the creature was feeding on them. The driver is usually soft-spoken and intelligent, and it's clear that the experience deeply unsettled him. Later, I was contacted again by AP with an update. "Hey Lon, this is AP. I spoke to you on the phone a couple of weeks ago about how one of the drivers on my route saw the creature in Zephyr Hills, Florida. I wanted to give you an update. A different driver who covered my shift a couple of nights ago also saw the creature. He texted me early in the morning saying he is now a believer because he witnessed it as well. He described it as about 6 feet tall and dark gray with a large wingspan. He described its body as very slender and segmented, similar to an ant, with distinct parts, including a thorax and an abdomen. He reported that it flew over the road from right to left and was moving so fast that he could hardly make out its appearance. This sighting occurred in the same area, but instead of Route at 98, it was on US 301, a longer and darker road that branches off Route 98. He also mentioned that deer were abundant in that, area. I'm starting to think this creature may be preying on deer and that the full moon might influence its activity, but that's just speculation. I'm driving out there right now, so if I see anything, I'll update you again. Have a good day." There's also a note as well, folks, with a little more information. I invite anyone familiar with the area or anyone who has seen something unusual to please get in touch with me. The Pasco County area is known for strange occurrences, and I have documented several bizarre incidents over the years. Thanks, Lon. Very interesting with the update, isn't it, folks? People are seeing these cryptid creatures all over the world now, folks, because I can bet that people have seen Mothman and other such weird things like this pale crawler in other countries as well. But the fact that they seem to be spreading is what's truly alarming here, folks. Why is it seemingly that all paranormal occurrences seem to be on the rise, folks? People have said this for the last few years, that indeed that is the case, that these instances are just increasing in frequency and more people all the time are just seeing them. Or maybe, folks, people have always seen these creatures, but people feel more confident, and secure in sharing their stories. I think that's the case, at least partially, but I do think that these instances of paranormal phenomena are increasing as well, folks. So, they seemingly are going hand in hand. More people are basically secure in sharing their stories, and more people are seeing them. Now, it could be that maybe that the more people that are seeing them, that's basically causing some sort of feedback loop that, one person sees it, then another person sees it, and then they tell their stories. And this is basically like an effect where basically this causes more people to see these things as well, perhaps. But I can't be for sure. All I can do is just theorize on the actual reality of the matter. All I know for sure, folks, is that these things are being seen. Now, some of them undoubtedly are mistakes, maybe hoaxes, but that can't be true for all of them. And I'll basically end on this, folks. Whatever these things are, I think there's a good possibility they could be aliens or maybe some sort of interdimensional interlopers. But I can't, reach any other conclusions but that. Anyway, we're at the end, folks, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell. They'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.